Good evening, viewers. This is the Friday's edition of the Regional News. Starting off with news from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, has said that his country will be boycotting the June 6 to 11 Summit of the Americas, hosted by U.S. President Joe Biden in Los Angeles. The PM said that he does not see what is to be gained from attending the summit and will not support the event or send the representatives. According to reports, Gonsalves has seemingly failed to convince some of the Caribbean Community CARICOM colleagues not to boycott the summit because of Washington's refusal to invite Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua to the talks. Despite his boycott of the summit, Gonsalves maintained that Kingston still has glorious relations with Washington. On Monday, Gonsalves said Biden has no right in deciding who or which countries should be invited to the Summit of the Americas. Reports from the Caribbean Media Corporation, CMC, the CARICOM chairman, and Belize Prime Minister John Bracino had confirmed that Washington is lobbying for CARICOM to change its position and not boycott the summit that the United States said is expected to focus on building a sustainable, resilient, and equitable future for the hemisphere. News from the Bahamas. Tropical storm warnings have been issued on Friday for much of the Bahamas, Florida, and Cuba as a system that battered Mexico moves through the Gulf of Mexico, bringing threats of heavy rain and wind for the weekend. The National Hurricane Center in Miami said the storm, known as Agatha in the Pacific Ocean, will be known as Alex in the Atlantic Ocean basin. An advisory posted early Friday noted that the data from a Hurricane Hunter aircraft indicate the system's maximum sustained winds had increased overnight, and it was expected to develop a well-defined center and become a tropical storm as it approaches Florida, according to the Hurricane Center. As a Pacific storm, Hurricane Agatha caused flooding and mudslides that killed at least 11 people and left 20 missing in Mexico, officials said. It caused rains to overflow their banks and swept away people in homes, while other victims were buried under mud and rocks. Agatha made history as the strongest hurricane ever recorded to come ashore in May during the Eastern Pacific hurricane season since 1949. And finally, in Trinidad. Two brothers from East Trinidad were on Thursday sentenced to death for the 2010 murder of a beach farmer. John and Victor Flores were convicted by Justice Hayden Douglas at a judge-only trial that began in March. At the end of a two-day exercise in which he went through the evidence presented during the trial, which was mostly held virtually, Douglas said he was satisfied the brothers were guilty of the murder of Sicharan Sankar on May 24, 2010, in the Chiruma Forest. The judge said he was also satisfied that the men attempted to murder Sankar's brother, Dotnath Anil Sankar, and his cousin, Johnny Rohan Ramnarayan. In all, the Flores brothers were found guilty of murder, 2 counts of attempted murder, a possession of a shotgun and ammunition. On the attempted murder and gun and ammunition possession convictions, they are expected to return to court for sentencing. The imposition of the death sentence on the two brothers comes 2 weeks after the Privy Council affirmed the mandatory sentence for murder in Trinidad and Tobago as being constitutional. That's all for tonight's regional news. I'm Joel Vogt. Back to you, Travis.